and welcome to the Apex Motorsport Christmas special. It's Christmas Eve, and this video brings to an end the Apex Motorsport Advent calendar that we've been running since the start of December. My name is Richard Smith, and I'm joined by not one, not two, but three guests for this one. I'll introduce the first guest, someone who you all know on this channel. It is, of course, Ryan. Ryan, thank you for joining me again for this.
Yeah, no problem. This is the special one, so glad to be here.
And our second guest is someone who has been on the channel in the past, do a couple of podcasts here or there. It is Will from Formula Podcast 1. Well, thank you for joining me, and for the people out there who don't know who you are, they should. You've just had 10k on YouTube, which is fantastic, and big congratulations on that. Tell me a little bit about your channel and what you do over there.
Hiya, thanks for having me on, and thank you again. 10,000 subs as of yesterday, which is mental, quite frankly. My kind of whole aim on YouTube is to see how long it can take to get demonetized effectively with edgy jokes and comedy. So if that's the sort of thing that you're interested in, then go and check it out.
And our third and final guest today is someone who you will know if you've listened to the podcast. He's here, not on video, but on audio. It is Craig. Craig, thank you for joining me. And for the people who don't know who you are, tell me how you're involved in Formula 1.
Well, thank you for having me on again, Richard. I've basically a F1 photographer, so I've been lucky enough to attend three events, so testing this year and the British Grand Prix and Belgian Grand Prix last year as accredited media, and hopefully plenty more to come once we can finally get back into the tracks, which hopefully won't be too long.
Hopefully not. So today's video, we're just going to have a little chat about the 2020 season, taking a look at some of the key moments throughout it, and also have a little quiz at the end to test the knowledge of Ryan, Will and Craig. But it was a crazy season. Lewis Hamilton coming away as the world champion with Mercedes winning the Constructors' Championships. Let's go back to the original start of the season and to Australia, where the Grand Prix was cancelled later on. We'll come to you, Will, first in this one. If you can think all the way back to when that Grand Prix was, what was your feeling whenever you heard that it wasn't going ahead?
I mean, I remember I was in a lecture on it when all the news kind of broke, because it was McLaren were the first team to pull out, and then it all kind of went to pot from there on in. I think the FIA just didn't handle that particularly well. Maybe a bit of foreshadowing in terms of Michael Massey's decisions over the course of 2020, but at the time I was obviously disappointed, but looking back, and obviously then we didn't really have much of I didn't think that the pandemic had really hit the UK yet, so really we didn't have as much of an appreciation as to how serious this situation was. So looking back, cancelling it was the right decision. I think a lot of people at the time thought, they're all there, might as well make it go ahead. But they had to cancel at the end of the day. They probably should have cancelled it long before, but obviously hindsight's 2020, isn't it? So I think obviously it was difficult, that 3 or 4 month period where we had to wait to get a race, but I tell you what, 2020 season, it paid off in the end, didn't it?
Definitely did. Craig, did you think whenever you seen it was cancelled, did you expect there to be such a long gap between the Australian Grand Prix and the first race of the actual season?
Oh, not at all. I mean, I can remember, as you said, waking up on that morning, that I think it was the Thursday morning, and seeing that a McLaren member had tested positive, and then all of a sudden that weekend it just fell apart, didn't it, for Formula One? I think them going there was blissful ignorance. They thought it won't affect us, we've got a plan, but it turned out they didn't. And obviously, as you say, it was a good gap from when we should have gone racing in March to when we actually went racing the first weekend in July. So it was a very long wait, and it's something I never thought I'd see happen. But it was. I tell you what, once it did all get going, it was an absolute gem of a season. I think arguably it's one of the best seasons I've ever watched or had the privilege of watching.
And Ryan, we obviously started this channel in March. It was after that race, being cancelled. I think it was just at the time it was cancelled. and it gave us a couple months to work on this channel. Do you think the season being cancelled at the start really helped, the first race of the season and the rest of the season become even better than what it could have been if it had just been a normal season?
I think having that anticipation at the start, it sort of led us to build up this excitement, this enjoyment of finally hearing that introduction music again, being all "Let's go racing," hearing that final countdown, lights out and here we go. Everything was just coming together. We were waiting. We were just so optimistic for this first race of the season. Whereas we sort of were expecting it to happen, back in March with the Australian Grand Prix. But I think having that delay just made us more eager, more enticed to want to see racing come back. And boy, when it came back, it was amazing.
And obviously the first race of the season of the revised calendar was the Austrian Grand Prix, and we've seen a driver on the podium that we probably didn't really expect to see going into the season. We'll come to you, Craig, first on this one. Lando Norris on the podium. What did you make of that?
I thought that was fantastic. Obviously, he wasn't in a podium position, and the race I'll be honest, the first half of that race in Austria, from what I can remember, was pretty normal. It was Mercedes out front, not much happening, and then the safety car came out, and it just all erupted. And I think the best clip, and I'm pretty sure it's still on McLaren's Twitter, is listening to Norris talking to his race engineer for that final lap, where he's talking to him about gap to Hamilton, 5.2 seconds, deploy for 6 seconds out of turn 2, deploy for 4 seconds out of turn 3. I thought, just watching that back, it still gives me goosebumps watching that lap, because it is absolutely fantastic. And it was a treat to see Norris up there on the podium so soon after Sainz in Brazil back in 2019. But yeah, it's fantastic to see Norris up there. It's fantastic to see McLaren up there as well, actually. I mean, you think where they were 2 years ago. It's a proper joy to see them back up at the front again.
And Ryan, what did you make of that last lap from Lando Norris that started giving the nickname of Last Lap Lando?
Well, as we know, scenario 7, let's go, bap, bap, bap. No, I think, whenever the team found out that Lewis was intention of getting that penalty, there was that moment of, can we do this? Can we really push and just nick him in that tiny wee space of area just to manage to hang on to that, claim that podium? And they just did it. They were out by so much and still managed to stay within that 5 seconds just at the very end. Like, you could see it gradually coming down, and he only got it by, was it even 1/10 of even that? So it was quite close at the end, but, I was so glad to finally see Lando up on that podium. It was amazing.
He got it by 0.198 of a second.
That was tight going.
Just under 2/10, and he got it all in the final 2 corners.
Madness.
It's not bad. Well, the rest of the podium was made up of Valtteri Bottas and Charles Leclerc. I think I'm correct in saying that. With Norris up there as well, that's probably not the podium we really expected going into the season. What's your take on that?
Well, I think Charles was the real underrated character of that race. Bear in mind how awful that Ferrari was, and I don't think we fully understood how bad it was until we got to maybe Silverstone and beyond. But God, that Ferrari was a handful. And yet you got Charles, who's managed to get this car into P2, really drove the wheels off it. He then obviously drove the rear wing off of it the week after. But we move on from that. I mean, Charles, he and again, he did the same thing in Silverstone, or the Silverstone races. He brought him a P3. I think he had one of the strongest first halves of the year. Obviously, Bottas in P1, we thought, is this the year that Valtteri could maybe finally take the title fight to Hamilton? No, we couldn't at the end of the day. Bottas disappointed me this year. He really did, and
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's gutting that he signed that contract so early, because I think George needs to be in it. I think George needs to be in that Merc sooner rather than later, and he proved that later on the season, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback on what Will was saying there, I think Leclerc at the first few races of the season had an amazing talent of just staying out of trouble.
which aged well when you get to the end of the season.
Yeah, complete role reversal. But yeah, that Ferrari was pretty much a shopping trolley. It was 4 wheels were going wherever they wanted to. The power unit was terrible. I can remember leaving testing and thinking, that can't be right. They've got to be sandbagging. And then obviously we turn up for that weekend and they were terrible. But Leclerc, the first few races, just stayed out of trouble and just managed to avoid everything else kind of imploding around him. Obviously that did change later in the year. It didn't last all season. But no, I think Leclerc did a fantastic job early on in the season.
And if we move on to the Styrian Grand Prix, it was the first race that was done back-to-back on the same track. Ryan, what did you make of that, being 2 races on the same track in the same championship?
You know, I think that it was the first time we'd seen something like this. Obviously then they extended the calendar to have double stacked races at the same track throughout the season. But it was quite unusual to think, you know, in terms of strategy, how are teams gonna, you know, take the race they've just had and try and use the information they gain to just make it even harder for other competitors to match them. In terms of Mercedes, like, you know, they were able to take that and just plop it in, copy paste job. You know, it's difficult to understand it whenever you've seen other races just constantly flow from different track, but when you have the 2 at the 1, I think it was just quite an interesting spectacle to this season that kind of really made it special.
And well, did you find it interesting, or would you rather them find another track elsewhere to run the second race of the season on?
I mean, I think the first race kind of set us up for a bit before with Styria. I think after the excitement of the first one, Styria was a little bit more kind of mundane, a little bit, you know, a weaker pace, I guess you could say. But I kind of like the idea. It did bring a different element. Did they not bring, I think, it might have been Silverstone, they brought a different set of tyres. I don't remember they did that for Styria as well.
Yeah,
I think Silverstone, they missed an opportunity because they could have done some sort of alternative track layout. It would have been great to see them go back to the old I think bridge corner that they used
the old bridge
pre 2010. I think they changed it, or 2009 was the last time we ran that layout. We saw how much that benefited the Sakir Grand Prix. It would have been nice to have done maybe a different layout there, but you know, still, I think it was different. It was interesting, and it was almost an opportunity for F1 to kind of try out these little alternative little plans and strategies, and let them kind of dip their toes in the water with how they could change the sport in the future, because it's not something that Formula have really been allowed to do, because teams always got in the way and said, oh, well, we don't want reverse grid races, we don't want alternative layouts. But kind of F1 they had this extra system brought in which stopped Ferrari vetoing everything, and you know, I think it really paid off for the sport.
Obviously, the podium for that race was Hamilton, Bottas, and Verstappen. Craig, when you seen that podium, did you think, oh, here we go again, this is what it's going to be like for the rest of the season?
I think when you consider who was in the other Red Bull, so obviously you had Albon in that Red Bull, I couldn't see anyone else getting into that top 3 and seriously challenging on I'm going to do this in inverted commas, a boring race. So not much happens. It's just sheer quickest cars to finish, no safety car, no nothing. I think that was the first time this season that we saw, yes, the Mercs are incredibly quick. Verstappen is the quickest of the rest. I just didn't expect to see that podium as frequently as we did this year.
And if we move on now, well, if we skip the Hungary Grand Prix where Hamilton won and go to Silverstone, it was the second double header. But of course we had a driver back on the grid, Nico Hulkenberg. I think this is a question I'm going to ask the three of you. We'll start with Ryan this one, then we'll go to Will and then to Craig. How glad were you to see Nico Hulkenberg back in Formula 1?
The Hulk was back. Oh, I was so glad to see him back. You know, it was disappointing for him getting booted out of Renault with pretty much no options, nowhere to go, but like Sergio, I suppose, this year. But no, I was glad to see him come back, because I thought he really does have a wee bit of potential still in him, the German driver. So I kind of felt bad for him, but when he came back, you know, he did sort of half prove his point for only being in the car. You know, once again, rushed through fitting, rushed through everything, getting used to a car he's never driven in his life, and he still performed sort of half okay. And then obviously, as we know, the car didn't start, which I felt so bad for him, but I was so glad he came back.
What did you make of his return?
Yeah, I mean, at first I was gutted for Perez. I mean, yeah, obviously, I mean, at least at the time, Perez had a contract with Racing Point for next year, so he wasn't going to lose his seat. Thank goodness for that, which obviously aged well yet again. But no, I think Hulk, he really proved his point. I think everyone last year was like, how has this man not got a seat in Formula One? And you know, he came back. And then remember, yeah, the 70th anniversary Grand Prix, the guy finished third in qualifying, which is mental, having been in the car for so little time. Really show what he could do, and sadly, you know, strategy meant that he fell back to, I think, 7th or something in the race. But you know, I think he proved his point when he came back later on the season as well. Hulk needs to be in this sport, and it's a shame he probably won't be. I mean, we haven't had the Red Bull decision yet, but we're believing that will either be Albon or Perez at this point. But it is gutting that Hulk isn't in that car, isn't in F1 at all. Really, I think he really showed that he should be there, and you know, sadly there are other factors that are stopping him, and that's really kind of financial, really.
And Craig, what did you make of his return? Sorry.
I'm gonna probably not be liked for this opinion, but when Hulkenberg left at the end of 2019, I kind of thought that's fitting, because I think Hulkenberg is a driver that has had plenty of chances to score decent points, to score podiums. I mean, you look back to Germany 2019, he was running second, I believe, and just slipped off the track. So I think I had the opinion of Hulk had kind of had his time, an opinion that I very quickly changed when I saw him come back in that Racing Point. I thought he did a fantastic job. It was great to see him come back, and obviously gutting when that car didn't start for that first Silverstone race. But obviously we got him in the second one, and he got a good haul of points, and he was on course for 4th until Racing Point suddenly decided, with about 5 laps to go, he needs a new set of tyres, which dropped him back to 8th or 9th. Decision didn't really understand. I kind of thought, okay, so you've pitted him, he could have made it to the end, and now suddenly he's behind Stroll. So yeah, that's a whole different kettle of fish, that one. But no, he's sitting 15th in the standings at the end of the year. Hulkenberg, 10 points, outscores 8 other drivers. I think that's, considering he only raced 3 races, that's a seriously good effort.
Yeah, it was definitely very impressive. The times he was back this season. Following the 2 rounds of Silverstone, there was the Spanish Grand Prix and the Belgian Grand Prix. But it was the race that followed that in Italy that there was probably the first major talking point of the season, and that was Pierre Gasly standing on the top step of the podium as a Grand Prix winner. Ryan, we love Pierre Gasly here on this channel. We're a big fan of him. How happy were you to see Gasly on that podium in first place?
I don't think we need my opinion. If you listen to the team radio, I think everything makes perfect sense how everyone was feeling. You know, he's been through a lot. Obviously, then he got demoted from the major sister team of Red Bull down to AlphaTauri after only staying in for 6 months. You know, you could argue he didn't get too much time to develop like Albon has, but you know what? He went back, he found his comfort spot, and he really drove that team forward this whole season. So he really, in an unbiased sort of way, you know, you look at other drivers who could be well deserving of that podium, or even, well, not even the podium, the race win, but I think Pierre, he just showed that much determination and just, you know, just wanted that podium to prove that Red Bull made a bad decision, and I think he made that point. That's why it's sort of so exciting to see, you know, he's done it, so what's Red Bull gonna do? You know, did they make the right decision? It's hard to tell.
And well, I remember back, if I'm correct, before that race, you put out a tweet saying something like, "It's the only time we'll hear the Italian national anthem played today," and I was about to tweet, and this is where people probably won't believe me, but just whenever I was about to reply to that saying, "Just wait on a Pierre Gasly victory," and it's my biggest regret ever not sending that tweet, because it would have been so great. I think I put it out when he was like 4th or something like that, when one of the restarts, thinking, yeah, it might be possible, but were you happy that your sort of prediction was wrong?
I completely forgotten I made that tweet, but no, the memories are coming flooding back now. Yeah, because it was when they were playing the Italian national anthem on the on the grid. I tell you what, I really felt for the fans. Well, to come to that one, because it was one of the first races to have fans. I think Ferrari had brought in all the first responders to kind of sit on the grandstands of the main straight, and I was sat there thinking, like, you've brought all these Ferrari fans to Monza. Have they not suffered enough through the pandemic? You're now having to. They then watched Vettel have a brake failure into turn one, and a few laps later, Charles gave up and decided to drive straight on at the Parabolica. So, it was a bad race for Ferrari. But on the other Italian team's front, it was amazing. AlphaTauri absolutely smashed it. Got the strategy just right. And a lot of people say, it was an undeserved victory, but really, if you think about it from a strategy point of view, AlphaTauri did the right thing. They got a little bit lucky, but they took that gamble, they took that risk, and it paid off. And fair play to Pierre. I think he really deserved that one. I don't think there'd be many people out here saying that they wouldn't have. I feel like, in fact, I can't think of anyone that would go and say, actually, I wanted Hamilton to win that one. No, like it was great for Formula One. It got the buzz going around the sport again, because I think it had been, up to that point, it had started to look like a fairly, Hamilton-dominated season, and Pierre kind of got that extra kind of breath of life into it, which was really good to see.
And not only was Gasly on the podium, but Carlos Sainz and Lance Stroll were also on the podium, which is a pretty unique podium in terms of Formula One. Craig, what did you make of seeing them three drivers on the podium together?
I thought that was fantastic. I think Pierre thoroughly deserved it after what he's had in F1. I'll be honest, I was kind of gutted Sainz didn't win it, because I love Sainz, I love McLaren. But no, Pierre did a great job. The pressure he must have been under on that race must have been massive for those last few laps. But no, it was great to see a different podium, and it was great to see what a result like that means for other teams, like not Mercedes, not Red Bull. It was nice to see what that result means to the teams where that kind of money it could be career changing. A win, 25 points, that could be massive for a team like AlphaTauri. It was massive for McLaren. It's been massive for Racing Point. I think it was fantastic. It was, going back to what Will said, I think when the Ferraris turned up at that race, they knew it was going to be bad. I didn't genuinely expect them to think it was going to be that bad. I think the radio quote for me that summed up Ferrari's weekend was Vettel coming over saying, I've just had brake failure going into turn one. And his mechanic said, okay, stop the car. And it was, I know it's obviously a bit of satire, but it was just the facts. It was like, he's just said he hasn't got brakes. And that's the first thing he says to him. Yeah. I thought Italy was fantastic. And Italy was a race where, for everyone that says, F1's boring, it's just people that drive around in circles, go and watch that and tell me that you do not find that exciting. And if you don't, you're lying, because that was a fantastic race.
It definitely was. The following race was the Tuscan Grand Prix, and we've seen Alex Albon on the podium for the very first time. Ryan, very quickly on Albon, do you think that this was the podium that helped give him a wee boost going into the end of the season?
After being denied a podium twice by Lewis, I think it was about time he sort of finally got that podium standpoint on his name.
That's a hot take.
In Formula One.
Denied by Lewis.
I don't know. But no, I think, he needed to have something under his name to prove, hey, I've kind of did a thing for you here. Could you maybe, extend my contract? That's the only thing I can really think about it. But it was about time he got that podium to sort of give him a wee bit of drive. But clearly it didn't do too much for him.
And I'll ask the same question to both Will and Craig. We'll start with you, Craig, in this one. Do you think it gave him a confidence boost?
A little bit. I think Alex would obviously that podium. Again, I think the biggest thing on Alex's mind with that podium was it wasn't a normal race. Max had obviously been taken out into the first few corners. Obviously, we had that horrific crash at the start line. It was another one of those races where anyone could have really been on the podium. And if I remember rightly, Ricciardo was proper close to getting him. I think a few laps longer and he would have maybe slipped off that, but I think it would have given him a boost, a little boost of confidence, just to say, do you know what, maybe I can do this. But yeah, no, it was a good race, Mugello. I expected it to be a bit of a snooze fest, but it was actually a good race to watch with, and I was happy to see Alex up on the podium. He deserved that.
And well, what did you think it gave him a boost, or do you think that things just carried on as normal for Alex Albon for the rest of the season?
It's going to be hard for me to discuss Alex Albon without throwing out a range of new expletives that the world has never heard before. I think, well, first just talk about Mugello before I get into that. I think everyone, going off what Craig said, everyone expected Mugello to be this absolute stinker of a race. Oh, you can't overtake. I think I remember saying that Ferrari were going to do well there, which aged well. Theme of this video. But no, I think it should have given him that motivational boost. The problem is it just didn't. And the following races were some of the worst of Albon's time at Red Bull, I think. And yeah, I think Imola was the big one where he was just falling back, then he spun at the end. It was like watching Albon's career go spinning out of control, really. Yeah, it wasn't a normal race, but it still should have given him some sort of motivation. I just don't feel like it did. Or if it did, the motivation didn't go to the right place. So yeah, it's a tough one for Albon, because I like the guy. I think he's a really lovely guy off track, but does he deserve to be in that Red Bull car for next year based on what I've seen? No, quite frankly.
Sorry to interrupt, but I was going to say, do you think that Red Bull driver program is such a cutthroat reality program? Do you think that Albon is just he's not got that edge to him where he can genuinely just say, "This is my car, this is my seat"?
I mean, remember that Albon got booted out of it after 2012. Really, that was quite harsh, but he'd been through quite a tough year from it with his family at that point. If you watch Drive to Survive, and yet Red Bull still boot him out, which shows how cutthroat it is. So he came into Toro Rosso anyway in 2019, not being affiliated with the Red Bull family anymore. He was going to race for Nissan in Formula E. So maybe to an extent, yeah, he hadn't had the benefit of being brought up around these people so much. Like if you compare him to like Max Verstappen or Danny Kvyat or Daniel Ricciardo, he hadn't had that almost nurturing from the Red Bull family, not for a very long time. He kind of gone done his own thing, got his own sponsors, and maybe that's a part of it. I think because of that, he didn't have the power in the Red Bull family that he would have had he been part of that family before. Alex Albon was never one of those names we heard, oh, it's going to be the next greatest thing, like they have with, say, Verstappen. So, yeah, it's a tough one there, really.
I think the biggest eye-opener for me was, you mentioned Drive to Survive, the episode that focused on Pierre and the Red Bull. And it was just the way they were talking to him on the radio. And you think, how on earth do you expect a driver to extract their best from a car when they're constantly being belittled on the radio like that?
Yeah.
I think that episode of Drive to Survive didn't do Red Bull any favours, and I think it just projects onto how much of a cutthroat environment Red Bull is now. And it evolves around Max Verstappen, because Daniel Ricciardo beat Verstappen in his first season, and then all of a sudden Verstappen is the lead driver, even though Ricciardo's outscoring him and outwinning him. So yeah, I think that Red Bull environment is a very, very interesting one to look at. And I, for one, certainly am not sure whether it's something that Albon's it's something he's got to fight for, and I don't think because Albon's such a nice guy. I'm not saying he's not got it in him to fight. He obviously has, and he's proved that with some of his drives this year. But I just think that it's such a toxic environment, it seems like, that second Red Bull seat.
The next few races, we've seen two drivers back in the podium that we haven't really seen much of in recent seasons. Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo. Ryan, we'll start with you in this one. How nice was it to see Ricciardo and Vettel back in the podium over the various races for the rest of the season?
You know, back and forth. Yes, you know, we've seen Vettel struggle so much this season, and whether it's just, you know, due to just all this stuff going on in his head, you know, how am I supposed to perform for a team where the car's not exactly all there, but then my teammate Charles can go and extract it better than what I can, but I'm a 4-time world champion. You know, there is mind games going on with Sebastian, so to see him on that pretty much near enough final podium, it was quite nice to see him up there, you know, him going out with a bang, as well as as Checo had done as well. You know, it was good to see them three up there with Perez's win. You know, I think it was just a showcase. With Ricciardo, you know, he's showed quite good performances throughout the whole season, and we finally get to see hopefully this tattoo of Cyril Abiteboul's. You know, I'd be quite excited to finally see that come through.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that. Yeah, hopefully we do get to see it before he does make the switch to McLaren for next season. Well, what do you make of seeing Vettel on the podium? Do you think it's what he deserves after having to go through this horrid season with Ferrari?
I love seeing Vettel on the podium, and the way he did it as well, like what was like the final corner or the final sector, was just amazing. You know, I think he deserves it at the end of the day. It was good to kind of have end his time on Ferrari on a bit of a positive note, because it hasn't been a good season. I think that's fair enough. He's really struggled at times, yet it all seemed to come together at that weekend, and it did kind of fade away a little bit more in the last kind of 3 races of the season. But yeah, it was just good to kind of have something positive to take out of that one at the end of the day.
And what did you think of Daniel Ricciardo being on the podium for two of the races this season?
I was very happy with that. Funnily enough, as a big Ricciardo fan, no, I've always loved Danny Rick. You know, I've got the hats on the wall. I've got a Danny Rick poster literally in front of me. I've met the guy a couple of times. He's an absolute legend. So just seeing him on the podium for Renault, not once but twice, that was brilliant. That was just so good to see, and I think he's deserved it. He's obviously built that Renault team up, I think, quite a lot around him, and I think the fruits of that really seem to come into effect this year. So yeah, interesting what he can do with McLaren next year, obviously with the Mercedes engine. That's going to be really exciting. So yeah, but I think Danny Rick is one of my drivers of the season. I'm not just saying that because I'm a massive fanboy. I think, you know, he really did surprise a lot of people. You know, with his pace over Ocon and his pace in that Renault as well, which was not the fastest of the midfield cars by any means.
And Craig, what's your take on both them drivers being in the podium again? You still there?
We shall never know.
I think we might have lost Craig.
We might have done.
No, I'm here. Sorry, my mic was muted for some obscure reason.
I'll just ask you again. I'll ask you again, and so it's all nice, smooth.
Yeah, sorry.
It's
my fault.
No, it's alright. Craig, what was your take on both them drivers being back in the podium?
I thought it was great to see them up there. Vettel absolutely deserved the podium after driving that absolute dog of a Ferrari car around this season. Whether he should have been up there, I don't know. I think we saw Leclerc make quite a very uncharacteristic error going into that final corner in Istanbul, which obviously gifted Perez second, gave Vettel third. And honestly, how can you not be happy to see Ricciardo up there? I mean, the guy is just fantastic, and like Will was saying, I've met him a couple of times. He's genuinely a nice guy, and honestly, I can't wait for him at McLaren next year. I think him and Norris at McLaren next year is going to be fantastic. He thoroughly deserved the multiple podiums he's got this year. He's consistently been up there in 4th place. He's had a fantastic season. Renault have come good, just as Fernando comes back in next year, which is something I cannot wait to see. Yeah, I think it all came good for the right people at the end this year, and it all worked out beautifully.
The one thing I do wish he didn't mistake, he messed up not doing the shoey.
Yeah. He got to do it again, though. He did get that second opportunity.
Completely forgot.
It was good to see him do it though at the second podium.
Yeah. Move on to some quick sort of one-word answer questions before we start the main quiz. And the first question is, who was your driver of the season? I'm going to kick things off by saying Sergio Perez. For me, had a great season. A car that, after pre-season we expected to be up there, but given he's not guaranteed a race seat for next season, he definitely proved why he should have. Well, we'll come to you first. Just who's your driver of the season? I think you've already hinted, but who do you think it is?
Yeah, there's so many options, isn't there? You could go for Gaz, you could go for Ricardo, you could go for Perez. Let's go for Ricardo because I think he's been in the form of his life.
Okay.
And I think given the car that he had, which at times wasn't the fastest in the midfield, which was really, really tight this year, I think he really showed his stuff and showed, why he is one of the best drivers in the Formula 1 grid. So I'm going to say Danny Rick.
And Ryan, who's your driver of the season?
I'm stuck between two. You've got Sergio Perez, who took that car, developed it, and absolutely smashed it towards the end of the season. But also George Russell, he's been consistent. He's got out of Q1 a couple of times into Q2. So he has had that consistency about it, and then he got his big break, and he did put on a show for everyone. You can't not admit that he didn't. Showed his potential. So, yeah, I'm going to go between Sergio Perez and George Russell.
Okay, I'm going to have to push you for one name.
I'll stick it with Perez then too.
Okay, and Craig?
Oh, it's a tough question. There's been so many good drivers this year. I think it's going to have to be... I don't know. It's just been so many good on-form drivers. Obviously, Perez, Russell. I think Hamilton's been in the form of his life again this year. He's put in some incredible drives. Yeah, I'm probably going to, as much as it is to agree with everyone else, I'm going to say Perez. Best season of his career. Won a race after 180 entries, finally. Broke the record for the longest wait without a win. Yeah, he's just been in the form of his... I think many drivers this year have been in the form of their career. But I think Perez has just been... he's had a blinding season considering he missed 2 races.
Yeah, so it's 3 of us say Perez, one says Danny Ricciardo. We'll move to the best moment of the season. For me, it was seeing Pierre Gasly stand on the top step of the podium. Craig, we'll start with you in this one. What was your favourite moment of the season, or best moment of the season?
Oh, goodness me. I'm gonna say it, and I think it was seeing Romain Grosjean get out of that car in Bahrain, because I think I speak for everyone here, as I was sitting there watching that, and I thought, you saw that happen in the background, and you think, well, he's dead. There's no question of a doubt. He's not getting out of that. To see him climb out of that car and to see the bravery from Dr. Ian Roberts and just how quickly everything worked, and to see Grosjean get out of that car with minor burns on his hand, that's my moment of the season.
One thing that Craig, me and you have discussed the incident on the podcast a few times. I was just interested to hear Will and Ryan's sort of reaction to that incident, if we quickly go to that, because for those who weren't aware, I'm sure you are by now, Grosjean was involved in a fairly bad accident at the Bahrain Grand Prix where he crashed in the barrier, the car split in half, and the car went up in flames. But he managed to get out, as Craig said, with minor burns. Well, what was your reaction when you seen that crash?
Well, I think fairly bad is a bit of an understatement there.
Yeah,
it was a bit bigger than that. I'm kind of mirroring Craig on this one. I was in a Discord call with 2 or 3 of my mates, and I think even when we knew he was okay, in that hour-long slot that we kind of had to wait before we got going again, it was silence. Like, we were all kind of just in shock at what happened, and it took me a couple of days to kind of get over it. I was really quite shaken for a while afterwards, because my mind kind of went back to Hubert in Spa 2019. Craig, did you say you were media there, or was that?
Yeah, I was there that weekend, and and it is something I will never forget. Watching that happen and everything stopping, interviews, just everything stopped. And that was straight away where my mind went back to after seeing Grosjean. It was just seeing that and just thinking, oh God, I think we may have lost a driver there. And it's a horrid feeling. For anyone that watches F1, it's just horrible. It is just horrible.
Mm.
Yeah, I definitely think horrific's probably a better word to use for it, and I think it left everyone just in shock. Ryan, just your thoughts on that crash?
That it was quite unbelievable how it happened. He just cut across and just clipped the front of Kvyat, and he just straight in, and you're like, wow, how is he not dead? With that instant impact, and it just split and burst into flames. Most drivers, I think we were told that it was near something close to 50 Gs. Just the force going straight through in that impact.
55 G, he hit the wall.
55 G. Most fighter pilots don't even really experience that. That's crazy G-force. That's enough to knock someone unconscious within an instant. And the fact he was still conscious, was able to take off his belt, take out his steering wheel, and jump out of that car over the halo, whilst being on fire, it really does show something else of Grosjean. And I just don't understand. Had that been a solid concrete barrier, I don't think we would have had the same outcome. A tyre barrier there, which we did see implemented then for the following race, I think that would have probably been the best thing to have happened for that race. But I was just glad to see him get out of that car.
I think I mentioned this on the podcast, but I was watching it and it was on a bit of a delay, and my dad was watching the race, and he texted me that does not look good at all. And I thought, as Hamilton spun or something the first lap. And when I seen it, I was in shock. And then he texted me then to say he's out, he seems okay. And I hadn't seen the actual, they still weren't showing the crash or anything at that stage, and I was just complete shock. Thinking the worst, and thinking back to that Hubert incident as well, which Craig, obviously you were there, but I was watching it on the phone in the car at the time, and I was just in shock the whole journey home because of how serious it was. If we move on quickly now to the final question for you before we move on to a bit of a quiz, which driver are you most looking forward to see 2021? There's one driver who has been appointed that none of us are looking forward to see, but it's his teammate Mick Schumacher who I'm really looking forward to see. Ryan, which driver of the new ones that have been announced are you most looking forward to see next season?
Of the new drivers, well, there isn't really that much of an option, is there?
No.
Yes, I'd be glad to see Yuki Tsunoda. I still feel a wee bit bad for Kvyat, but I think it was kind of hinted that was going to happen anyway. But I will be excited to see how Tsunoda performs in that car in comparison to Danny. Yes, Danny hasn't been the overall best competitor in terms of getting the most out of that car, but I think I'll be quite excited to see how Tsunoda gets on.
Okay, and which driver are you excited to see?
I mean, it's got to be Mick, hasn't it? I think Tsunoda's obviously interesting. You got the walking jelly bean in the Kita Mazepin as well, but it's got to be Mick. Mick, I feel like his first year is going to be a bit of a disappointment, but he's going to really put it through in the second year. If you look at his kind of history in motorsport, he's always struggled the first year in a category, and then from then on he goes to dominate. So this year could be interesting. If he can pull something off incredible this year, then I think setting up into next year, we could be onto something here. I really do think we could be.
And same question, you, Craig?
I'm going to go for the driver that was quickest at the young driver test in Dubai. And that is, of course, the ever young Fernando Alonso. I'm a massive Alonso guy. I think he's fantastic. I think he'd beat Hamilton in the Mercedes. He deserves more than 2 world championships. I can't wait to see him back, and I'm so happy I might have the opportunity to photograph him in an F1 car. I was gutted when he retired, but I'm so happy to see him back, and hopefully that Renault, it'll be the Alpine next year, won't it? The Alpine is going in the right direction, and they can be up there. So I think, I'm looking forward to seeing Alonso back. Mick, I'm not sure about. I think, to me, I don't know. I don't know. I'll reserve my opinion on Mick because I'm not 100% sold on him at the minute. But I think he's obviously good. You don't become the Formula 2 champion by being average. But no, it's definitely Alonso. I'm looking forward to seeing back.
Ooh. Okay. If I speak, I'm in trouble. I'm going to be quiet.
I knew that would set the cat among the pigeons.
Well, I think it's time now. That was the serious part of this video, chatting about the season. He's ready to play a little quiz.
This is the serious bit. This is what
yes,
this
is the bit we've all been.
Yes.
This is why I said yes. I like a good quiz. Let's go. Let's do this.
Now for the Apex Motorsport Christmas special quiz. It's time to test the knowledge of Ryan, Craig, and Will to see who knows the most about the 2020 Formula 1 season. So yeah, we're doing it on Kahoot. Hopefully it's on the screen for you if I've been able to manage how to edit into the video. We'll start here now. Yes. Okay, here we go.
I have no idea what to expect here. So
Question one.
Right, let's go.
Which country the opening race held after the calendar was revised? Spain, Austria, Belgium, or Australia? Okay. Well done. All three.
All right, nice and easy.
Yeah.
Nice and easy. If
simple
you got that
start.
wrong, then get out. Quite simply.
Yeah.
Just get out.
And end it here, and we'll see you next year.
Probably was the easiest question, but Craig in the lead early on.
He was too quick.
Oh, it's all based on time, isn't it?
Yes. How
Yeah.
many retirements were there
Ping.
in the opening season in Austria?
Okay.
Retirements.
There's 9. It was
Yes.
quite a hectic race.
Gets him. Alright.
I'm
I'm on a roll.
Craig still top. Brian, come
Oh,
on.
come on.
You're not doing that. I'm right here. Okay, was
I'm on
Lando
my way
Norris
up.
lapped?
I'm on my way up.
Lando Norris lapped on his way to this medium podium in Austria? Yes or no? Simple. Okay. You're all doing well so far.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I get a
pretty
feeling
certain he
I'm going to
wasn't
be the
there.
one to mess it up.
I don't know why you have a streak round when you've a Volgod in your bottom, but I think they're being
Sorry.
Favoritism,
catching up,
that
Craig.
is.
Okay,
I
what
blame
was the
my
name of the
internet
second
for all
race in
these.
Austria?
What was the second race?
I had to be creative for this one.
I hope. Okay, for you.
I
I
was
thought I had to get
slow.
the right one.
I was slow. I nearly hit the wrong one.
Oh.
I was
Have
sitting
I-
reading them. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, had to be a bit
The
creative with
Mozart Grand Prix.
I read the Sound of Music Grand Prix first. And I was like, hang on, what?
I thought maybe try to get you to read them and you make like a run. This is going to be going down to the wire, I think.
Oh, I'm
Oh, he's
catching up.
catching. He's
Question
catching.
I'm catching.
Okay, which position did George Russell start for the steering Grand Prix?
Oh, bloody hell.
It's not where he qualified.
I don't
Okay.
know.
Oh,
I think I know.
Oh, I got it wrong.
Who got it
Oh.
right then?
Oh.
Was it just me? Yeah, because I knew you got into Q2 and there were some penalties.
Yes.
Oh, of course
So
he did.
it
was...
would have been 11th.
Oh.
Yeah.
Will's in the lead. Okay.
Get in.
No.
Question
Alrighty,
6.
I'm on fire. No, I can't make that joke. Which Ferrari driver finished 6th in Hungary? Right.
I'm stupid. I am stupid. I am stupid.
You got that one right.
I got that wrong.
That would be me. It was
Oh.
Vettel, because Vettel had a good race in Hungary, because I thought, maybe this is the turning point of his season. And obviously it wasn't.
I went too obvious.
Okay.
I think Will's away with this one, lads.
Never know.
There's
How many
24
retirement-
questions, blimey. Okay,
So
who was the only
retirement.
retirement in the Hungarian Grand Prix?
Was it?
Okay.
Was it? Was it?
Oh,
It's Gasly. He caught fire.
Ryan, come on. Did you get Gasly wrong?
You're forgetting. I missed a couple of races this season.
Ugh.
I only got to see highlights, and highlights are 7 minutes long.
But if a retirement, it would have been on it because it was only retirement of the race.
especially for Hungary, because there wasn't much else to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't have a big brain.
Okay, question 8. Which tyre puncture for Hamilton, the British Grand Prix? I think I spelled tyre wrong, let's ignore that.
Oh, I'm gonna have to wait for these answers. Was
Okay.
oh
Depends what way you're looking at it from the car.
Yeah.
Okay, no, yeah, alright,
True.
front left, cool.
Yeah, true. That's actually
Yeah.
a good point. At least you've
That's
got
right, we
all,
got it right. We're all good.
yeah,
We're all
you
good.
all got it right.
But I
yeah.
was the slowest.
Yeah. Well, you're running away 8 in a
Ah.
row.
He's away
I'm
with it.
smashing it.
Okay.
Let's
Who's
go.
the highest finishing French driver at the 70th anniversary Grand Prix at Silverstone? There was only 3.
Let's see.
Oh.
I think I've got this one wrong. Nah, I have. It was, I knew it wasn't going to be
Oh,
Gasly.
you all got it wrong.
we all got it wrong.
I knew it wouldn't be Gasly because that'd be too easy. So it was either going to be Grosjean or Ocon.
Okay. Didn't expect you to get it all wrong. Nothing's changed in the leaderboard.
I only realised it once.
Question
as soon as-
10. Superstar Nico Hulkenberg qualified where for the British Grand Prix
Okay.
or the 70th anniversary Grand Prix? You should all get this. We discussed it earlier.
This is fine.
Yes. Well done.
I'm hoping I was just quick enough to get some points.
Okay. There's not much in it. 1 or 2 questions
there's
wrong for
still
one.
800
So there's only
in it.
there's only 2,000 in it. Yeah, no, it's not much at all.
Yeah.
It's not the 2020 F1 standings really.
Yeah.
Which
That
race
will
will
come back
qualify
later.
higher?
Spanish
Spain.
Grand Prix. Spain. Was it? Was it?
Ah,
I knew it wasn't.
Okay.
we've all won for Stroll. Okay,
Okay, this one will be interesting then. The
You
next
second
question.
guess yourself all the time.
yeah.
Which racing point finished higher?
Oh, you've switched the colours round.
Yeah, I thought process elimination. I can't remember what happened, but
Yeah.
Thank God you did, because I'd have got that wrong otherwise.
I just think for the Hamilton tyre question, they should have mixed them all around. Because they were in position where the tyres were. Who confused you a bit.
Oh,
Okay, question 13. Who won the Belgian Grand Prix?
Who did win the Belgian Grand Prix?
Was
Well,
it
who won every
Lewis?
single Grand Prix this year?
Yeah,
Yeah, well done.
I was,
Good old
I was gonna
Lewis.
say.
Yeah. Oh, almost. You're almost at 10k, well. The second time this week.
Oh,
Hey, yeah, nice.
So,
Which positions did the Renault finish?
ah, come on.
Um,
Belgium.
ooh,
yeah, I knew it was a good one. I knew it was a good one.
who's admitting to get it wrong?
Me.
Doesn't surprise me. Okay.
Careful with F1 trivia that you're hitting my sweet spot.
What
If
anthem
the
was
winning
played?
team.
Yes.
Ah,
If you get this one, well, I'll be very disappointed. Yes. Well done.
Yeah.
I still think I'm the slowest. I must have really bad ping on the internet.
Yeah.
Making excuses already. Okay, where did Hamilton finish at the Italian Grand Prix?
Oh, where did he
Italy.
finish?
Italy. Italy.
Oh,
Okay.
Ryan, did you get that one wrong?
Second, come on. Who said second? Oh,
No surprises there, really. Okay. Ryan, or Craig, you're 10k as well. Ryan, come
I
on.
think he's gonna will he catch 3 questions?
Ryan, you
I need Will to get 2 wrong.
you see if
Has
the
he got
camera on.
every single one right?
I've missed
He's
a couple.
missed a
I think.
few, but I've got them wrong as well.
Okay, why did Ocon retire from the Imola Grand Prix?
Oh, it was either.
Oh, come on.
It's one of 2.
Yeah, exactly, but I can't remember which one. I've just taken a bit of a stab.
Oh, time's up.
No.
Yes!
It's gonna be gearbox on it. Ah.
There's one.
Okay.
It's, oh. Oh, it's getting close.
Alright. It is getting
No,
close.
it's not.
There's 1,000 in it. All right. I'm
You
still
should
keeping
get this
my
one.
cool.
Who plays Stroll at the
Oh,
Grand
okay.
Prix?
Grosjean.
Oh,
Where's his name?
clearly,
There we go.
uh,
I couldn't find his name. It was the last one I looked at. No.
Oh, there's 1,000 exactly in it.
Oh my.
Oh.
Oh,
Can I at least get over 10k?
Yes, you should.
Come on, Ryan, you can do it.
Okay, who's the lead Ferrari powered car at the Bahrain Grand Prix?
Bahrain.
It's the lead
Wait,
Ferrari
That
powered
was
car.
recent, wasn't it?
Yes.
Not Grosjean.
Oh!
I
remember!
Yes.
no.
We talked
No.
about this in the podcast.
Yes. You got it wrong. Craig, you got that wrong.
Me. It was me.
No, I got it right.
Oh.
It's 80 points. There's 80 points in it.
We're back in it. Okay.
I'm over 10k, lads.
Yes. Right. Fastest time, the Sakir Grand Prix.
What was the fastest time?
Oh.
It was set by George Russell. In the race. It was in the race.
Oh, in the race?
Yes.
Oh, blimey. I'm going to say that, but I don't know.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It was yellow, wasn't it?
Yeah, I got it.
55?
That was a guess, though, really.
Okay.
Damn.
Didn't think I got into the 55s.
Neither did I.
That's
Yeah,
that
so
then.
they got into like the 54s, 53s in quali, but race
there's
I had
another
no
question.
idea.
Question for you, Craig.
There's 24 questions.
Yes.
So Alonso 32 wins.
More or less.
Is it by F1 higher or lower now?
Oh, if I've got that. Did you ask me that on the podcast?
I think it probably did.
Oh, I got it wrong anyway.
got it
It doesn't
wrong.
matter.
Okay, you're 100%
How many
right.
wins does Senna? How many wins does Senna have?
Oh,
I can't remember.
I haven't.
Is
written
it
down.
36?
Senna has.
So I don't think he crossed 40. So Stroll, not Stroll, no. Prost, sorry, got 51, didn't he? Or 50?
Senna
Says
had
41.
41, no fairs.
Woo!
Okay.
Yeah, 41.
Okay, 22.
So Rosberg took part in 100 of them Grand Prix for winning. Did Button take part in more or less?
Before
winning?
Yes.
I think I'm wrong, but
hang on, I'm trying. I think it's
I knew I was wrong.
yeah, because I think it's 2001, 2006.
Any guesses how many?
120.
140 something, isn't it?
113. Won in Hungary in 2006.
So close then.
Okay, final question of this before we go to the big bonus round. I think, or maybe I've got this wrong. Maybe I put an extra question. I'm not too sure. Oh,
There's 24 of them. I think there's 2 to go, unless the last one's the bonus round. Goes into the 181 Grand Prix, but therefore 1 has Brundle. Oh goodness, how many did Brundle take?
Martin Brundle.
I was gonna say if Brundle took part in more, I'd be surprised. I don't think his career is
Less
particularly
races
long.
back then in the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, as well.
That was my main.
That's what I was thinking as well with that one.
165 races for Martin Brundle.
Oh, that's close.
Okay, that's more than I thought, to be honest.
This final question will be a shock to me as well. I can't remember what it was because I haven't got it written down. Oh yes, I remember now. What was question 4 about?
Oh,
Question 4.
blimey.
I think of that one.
No.
Okay.
He smashed it at the end.
All I'm gonna say is don't celebrate too early, whoever's won here, because the final
Yeah.
question might. Well, you're all on the podium, which is good.
Okay, well that's good.
Yes. Oh, how close was it though?
That's
Oh.
not good enough.
Ooh.
70. Oh, one question.
One
You are
question,
kidding.
Oh.
Right. This is where it
Get
gets a
in
little bit
there, boys.
interesting because Ryan,
Only by 600.
Ryan, you still have a very outside chance of winning this. I want you to know.
He's like Nikita Mazepin in the F2 finale.
I want you to know to get your pen and paper ready,
I'm ready.
Okay.
and each correct answer is worth. I'm gonna say 100 points because
Okay.
Well,
Why not?
I still can't.
So I need to
catch.
outscore by 6.
I still can't win.
Actually,
Okay.
yeah, but there's quite a few. I want you to write down the final result from the 2020 British Grand Prix.
Oh.
Which one?
Okay.
The
2020
first,
British Grand Prix.
the
Okay.
first round of Silverstone. Time to see the final results. We'll start with you, Will, for this one. If you run me down the race order,
Okay.
and I'll tell you how many got right at the end, and I'll reveal the final standings at the very end.
So I've gone Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc, since that's where he got his podium. Ricciardo, because remember he had a good one. Norris, Ocon, Gasly, Albon, Bottas, Stroll, Vettel, Magnussen, Giovinazzi, Grosjean, Russell, Latifi, and then Raikkonen as the last of the finishers. And then Sainz obviously had a puncture at the end. Kvyat blew up in the wall, and Hulkenberg didn't start.
Okay, run me through that final 10 again.
So what from?
Oh,
So I said P11 Vettel,
so
P12
2
Magnussen.
seconds.
I'm not confident with my last
Interesting.
10. I'm not confident with my last 10.
Okay, run me from P10 down.
Okay, so P10 Stroll, 11 Vettel, 12 Magnussen, 13 Giovinazzi, 14 Grosjean, 15 Russell, 16 Latifi, 17 Raikkonen, 18 Sainz, 19 Kvyat, 20 Hulkenberg.
Okay. I think you've got 11.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take 11.
Ryan, over to you.
You give me a lovely 3, so Lewis Hamilton,
Yeah.
Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
Then I have Ricardo.
Yeah.
I have then Sainz. I have I stuck in then Lando, then Albon, then Ocon, then Stroll, then Vettel, then Kvyat, then Grosjean, then Magnussen, then Giovinazzi, then George, then Latifi, then I have Bottas. I have I can't even read my own writing. Bottas, Sainz, and Raikkonen.
You got 7.
No way.
Craig,
This is where it all comes down to now, though.
Ah!
That's great done.
That is impossible.
Craig, you have to get 17.
17.
Okay.
I'm feeling confident, I'm not going to lie.
Top 3,
Okay.
Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc,
Okay.
Ricardo,
Yep.
Norris, Ocon, Gasly. Then you have Albon, who fought back after taking out Magnussen on the final corner.
I forgot about that.
Vettel, who had the broken floor most of the race, so scraped points. Stroll, just bottle job for 10th. Bottas dropped out the points with his puncture. Russell was finished just behind Bottas because they reckon he could have overtook him on track had he had an extra lap. And then this is where it gets fuzzy because Grosjean finished above Sainz because Sainz dropped from 4th, well out of the points with his puncture. Latifi, what I've got is Latifi,
In which position?
15th.
Okay.
Raikkonen, 17th. Grosjean, 16th. And Kvyat, Hulk, and Magnussen not finishing. I reckon I'm going to be 1 or 2 short.
It's going to be tight. It is going to be tight.
Okay.
I think he's got a lot right there. 17. That's
Right. Do you want to know how it finishes?
just tell me already.
Come on.
Craig, you scored 16.
No!
Oh!
So
Fair play.
close.
That was close. That was close.
It was very close.
Ugh.
I didn't think you would get as many. I thought you would be getting maybe top 10, but after that, Craig,
It was when Will said that Magnussen finished. I was like, oh, maybe I could get in here.
I've forgotten about K-Mag. I thought that was in the 70th anniversary Grand Prix, but
Well,
yeah, you're right.
The final standings were Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc, Ricardo, Norris, Ocon, Gasly, Albon, Stroll, Vettel, Bottas, Russell, Sainz, Giovinazzi, Latifi, Grosjean, Raikkonen, Kvyat, Magnussen, and then Hulkenberg. That's from the official Formula 1 website. So
I
Damn
think
it.
shocking.
that's the end of the quiz. Will,
man.
you are the winner of the quiz.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
The first Apex Motorsport Christmas special winner. Craig, you are very close runner-up, and
I must have been 100 behind.
Yeah, about 100 behind.
I'll blame that on the Norfolk internet.
Yeah, and Ryan, you have no excuse here, really, do you?
I enjoy watching the races. I don't sit there and memorize them.
Well,
yes.
Okay, we'll give you that. Okay. So I think that's going to bring to an end of this special. Thank you to Ryan, Will, and Craig for joining me for this one. It was very enjoyable. This is, of course, the final video that will be going up on the channel until the new year. So to everyone that has watched this since we started back in March, thank you very much for all the support. The support's is incredible and better than what we expected. We do, of course, have the podcast back on running, Just Another F1 Podcast. Ryan and Craig have both featured on there, and I'm sure Will probably feature sometime in the future, hopefully. So yeah, again, thank you, Will, Craig, for joining me, and Ryan, of course, as well. You sort of co-host for this as well. So yeah, to everyone out there, we hope you have a very safe and happy Christmas, and we hope to see you all in the new year. Thank you all so much for watching, and hope to see you all in the new year. Goodbye.